I'm Anastasia, and my husband beat me with his belt 300 times at a luxury gala while everyone laughed. I was 6 months pregnant, humiliated in front of hundreds of people. His family had finally broken him. But when my billionaire father walked through those doors, the laughter stopped. What happened next destroyed them all. Before I tell you this unbelievable story, hit subscribe and the notification bell. This story has twists you won't see coming. Watch till the very end because the revenge my father took will leave you speechless. My name is Anastasia, and 2 years ago, I thought I'd found my fairy tale. I was 28, working as an art teacher at a small private school, living a simple but happy life. I loved my students. I loved painting in my tiny apartment on weekends, and I honestly never imagined I'd end up in the world I'm about to describe to you. It all started at a charity auction for children's hospitals. I'd volunteered to donate one of my paintings, nothing fancy, just a sunset landscape I'd worked on for months. I was standing by the refreshment table, feeling completely out of place among all these wealthy people in their designer clothes, when he walked up to me. Harrison Webb, 32 years old, tall, with kind eyes and the most genuine smile I'd ever seen. He wasn't like the other rich men in that room who looked right through the staff and volunteers. Harrison actually saw me. "Did you paint the sunset piece?" he asked, holding a glass of champagne. "It's beautiful." There's something honest about it. Honest. That word made me fall for him right there. We talked for hours that night. He told me about his real estate company, how he'd built it from the ground up after his father refused to just hand him the family business. He wanted to earn his own way. He asked about my art, about teaching, about my dreams. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen by someone. The next 6 months were like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. Harrison took me to art galleries. We had picnics in the park. He'd show up at my school with coffee just to see me smile. He wasn't trying to impress me with money. He was trying to know me. When he proposed on a quiet beach at sunset, just the two of us, I cried happy tears and said yes without a single doubt. My father, William Sterling, met Harrison several times before the wedding. Dad had built a tech empire from nothing and become a billionaire through sheer determination and brilliance. He was protective of me, his only daughter, but he seemed to genuinely like Harrison. "He's got good character," Dad told me. "That's rare in wealthy circles." The wedding was magical. 300 guests, flowers everywhere, and when Harrison looked at me during our vows, I knew I'd made the right choice. But then came the honeymoon's end, and I met his family properly for the first time. Harrison's mother, Patricia Webb, was nothing like I'd expected. The first time she walked into our home, she looked around with this expression of cold disapproval. Our home was a beautiful mansion, by the way, but apparently not up to her standards. She said, running her finger along a bookshelf. "I suppose this will do for now." She looked at me like I was a stain on her expensive carpet. "You're just an art teacher, dear. You married up. Way up. Don't forget that." I tried to laugh it off, but Harrison said nothing. He just kissed his mother's cheek and offered her tea. Then there was Gregory, Harrison's older brother. 35, smug, with eyes that made my skin crawl. He'd make comments about my clothes, my background, my job. "An art teacher," he'd laugh. "How quaint. I hope you signed a prenup, brother." And Diane, Harrison's younger sister, 29, was perhaps the worst because she pretended to be my friend. She'd hug me, call me sister, then I'd overhear her on the phone. "She's so beneath him." I don't know what Harrison was thinking. Leonard, Harrison's father, barely spoke. He just sat in his chair, nodded at everything Patricia said, and enabled every cruel word that came out of his family's mouths. They lived in the mansion right next to ours. Every single day they'd visit. Every single day the poison would drip. "Harrison, darling, I made your favorite dinner. Bring it home since Anastasia clearly can't cook properly." Patricia would say this right in front of me. Gregory would corner Harrison at family dinners. "Brother, I saw your wife at the mall today." She was talking to some young man. Very friendly. You might want to keep an eye on that. It was my cousin visiting from college, but Harrison's face would tighten, and he'd look at me differently. Diane was the most calculated. She'd plant things. I'd find strange men's business cards in my purse that I'd never seen before. Receipts from expensive restaurants I'd never been to would somehow end up in my coat pocket. Once I found a love letter in my car, supposedly from some secret admirer. It was all her, setting traps, but I couldn't prove it. 3 months into our marriage, I noticed Harrison changing. The man who used to hold my hand during movies now sat at the opposite end of the couch. The man who'd kiss me goodbye every morning now left for work without a word. His family's daily poison was working, seeping into his mind, drop by drop. "Anastasia, my mother says you were rude to their housekeeper," Harrison said one evening, his voice cold. "I've never even met their housekeeper," I replied, confused. "Are you calling my mother a liar?" That was the first time I saw that look in his eyes. Suspicion. Doubt. It broke something inside me. Then I discovered I was pregnant. 6 weeks along, and I was terrified but also hopeful. A baby would fix this. A baby would remind Harrison of the love we'd shared. I was naive, wasn't I? I decided to tell his family first, thinking maybe this would finally make them accept me. I invited them all for dinner, cooked for hours, and announced it with tears of joy in my eyes. "I'm pregnant. You're going to be grandparents." The silence was deafening. Patricia's face turned to stone. Then she leaned forward, her voice dripping with venom. "Are you sure it's Harrison's baby?" I felt like I'd been slapped. "How dare you?" "Well, dear, Gregory has seen you with other men. Diane found those numbers in your phone. We're just concerned about our son being trapped." Harrison sat there saying nothing, and that's when I knew I'd lost him. His family had won. The next few months were hell. I was 4 months pregnant, then 5, my belly growing with our child, and Harrison barely looked at me. He moved into the guest room, stopped coming home for dinner. His family's accusations became bolder. "She's a gold digger, Harrison. She planned this pregnancy. Once that baby's born, she'll take you for everything in the divorce. The baby probably isn't even yours. Get a paternity test." I tried everything. I showed Harrison my phone records, my bank statements, proof that I'd been nowhere near the places they claimed. But his family always had another lie ready, another piece of fabricated evidence. Diane was particularly skilled at Photoshop, I'd later discover. One evening, when I was 6 months pregnant, Patricia showed up at our door with her laptop. "Harrison, darling, you need to see this." She showed him pictures of me with another man at a cafe, laughing, looking intimate. It wasn't me. Or rather, it was me, but the images were doctored, manipulated, pieced together from different photos. But Harrison didn't know that. He exploded. For the first time since I'd known him, Harrison grabbed my arm and shook me. "Who is he? How long have you been lying to me? Harrison, that's not real. Please, look at me." He pushed me. I stumbled backward, my hand instinctively protecting my belly. I hit the wall. Patricia, Gregory, and Diane stood in the doorway, watching with satisfied smiles on their faces. They'd finally broken him completely. My gentle husband was gone. In his place was a stranger who looked at me with hatred. The violence started small. A shove here, a grab there. But it escalated. His family would wind him up with new accusations, and he'd come home angry. I walked on eggshells trying to be perfect, trying to prove my innocence, but nothing worked. The man I loved had become my nightmare, and his family watched it all with pleasure. Then came the annual Webb Family Charity Gala. It was the event of the season, 500 guests, held at the family estate's grand ballroom. Politicians, celebrities, business tycoons, everyone who was anyone would be there. Patricia insisted I attend. "You're a Webb now, whether we like it or not. You'll be there looking presentable. Try not to embarrass us more than you already have." I didn't want to go. I was 6 months pregnant, exhausted, emotionally destroyed, but I had no choice. I wore a red dress, the only formal thing that fit my pregnant belly, and arrived at the estate with Harrison, who didn't speak a single word to me in the car. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, gold decorations, tables covered in white silk. 500 people in designer gowns and expensive suits, sipping champagne, networking, laughing. I felt like a ghost moving through the crowd, invisible except when people would whisper and point. They all knew the rumors Harrison's family had spread: the gold digger, the unfaithful wife, the liar. Dinner was served at 8. I sat at the family table between Harrison and Diane, picking at my food, trying to disappear. Patricia was holding court at the head of the table, telling some story that had everyone laughing. I caught her looking at me several times with this strange, anticipatory smile. Something was about to happen. I could feel it. Then, right as dessert was being served, Diane suddenly screamed, "My bracelet! My diamond bracelet is gone!" The entire ballroom went quiet. 500 faces turned toward our table. Patricia stood up dramatically, her hand to her chest. "That bracelet is worth $50,000. It was right here on the table." Gregory jumped in immediately. "Everyone stay calm. Let's search before we call security." I sat frozen, confused. What was happening? Then Patricia's eyes locked on me. "Anastasia, stand up, empty your purse." "What?" "I didn't." "Empty it, now." Harrison grabbed my arm, pulled me to my feet. My purse fell to the floor, contents spilling out. And there, among my lipstick and tissues, was Diane's diamond bracelet, glittering under the chandelier lights. The gasp that went through the room was like a wave. Phones came out immediately, cameras flashing. I looked down at that bracelet in horror. "I didn't put that there. I swear, I've never touched." "Liar!" Patricia's voice rang through the ballroom. "This woman is a thief, a liar, a gold digger who trapped my son with a pregnancy that probably isn't even his." Diane stood up, tears streaming down her face in a perfect performance. "I trusted you. I called you sister. And you steal from me?" Gregory pointed at me accusingly. "We've all seen her with other men. She's been stealing from this family for months. The jewelry, the cash, everything. 500 people watching. 500 phones recording. Whispers everywhere. Can you believe it? Caught red-handed. Poor Harrison. She's probably been playing him this whole time." I looked at Harrison, my eyes begging him, "Please, please believe me. Please defend me. Remember the man you used to be. Remember the love we had." His face was stone, cold, empty. Then he stood up, slowly, deliberately, and he removed his belt. My blood turned to ice. "Harrison, number. Please. The baby. I'm innocent. Please." He grabbed my arm, his grip bruising, and dragged me to the center of the ballroom. The crowd parted. Someone moved the tables aside. It was like they were preparing a stage for my humiliation. "You've humiliated my family for the last time," Harrison said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "You've made a fool of me. You've stolen from us. You've lied. And now, everyone will see what happens to women like you." The first strike of the belt hit my back. The leather cracked like a whip. Pain exploded through my body. I screamed. Some people gasped, but no one moved. No one helped. Strike 2. Strike 3. I fell to my knees, my arms wrapped around my pregnant belly, trying to protect my baby. That was all that mattered. Keep the baby safe. Survive this. Count to stay conscious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Patricia started clapping. Slow, deliberate claps. Then Gregory joined. Then Diane. Then, unbelievably, horribly, others in the crowd began clapping too. Some were laughing. Some were taking selfies with my beating happening in the background. This was entertainment to them. 10, 15, 20, 25. Harrison's face was empty, mechanical. The belt kept falling. My back was on fire. I tasted blood, but I kept counting. It was the only way to stay alive. 50, 75, 100. The red dress I wore was torn now. I could feel blood soaking through. My baby was still moving inside me, still alive, still fighting, so I had to keep fighting too. 150, 200, 250. Some people were cheering now, cheering. Like this was a sporting event, like I wasn't a human being, like I wasn't 6 months pregnant, like I wasn't innocent. 275, 290, 295. I couldn't feel my back anymore, couldn't feel anything except my baby moving. I was counting by instinct now, barely conscious. 298, 299. Then the grand ballroom doors crashed open with a sound like thunder. The 300th strike never came. Harrison's belt froze in midair. The laughter stopped. The clapping stopped. The entire ballroom went silent. I couldn't lift my head, but I heard his voice. My father's voice. And it was terrifying in its calmness. What is happening here? I heard footsteps. Confident, powerful footsteps. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. I managed to lift my eyes and saw him. My father, William Sterling, walking through the ballroom with 20 security personnel behind him. His face was calm, but his eyes were filled with a fury I'd never seen. He reached me, and his expression cracked for just a moment when he saw me collapsed on the floor, bleeding, pregnant, broken. He took off his jacket immediately and draped it over me, covering my torn dress and wounded back. Then he stood and looked at Harrison. "What have you done?" Harrison's face went white. The belt dropped from his hand. She stole from my family. They said, they had proof. They said? My father's voice was soft, but it carried through the silent room. "Your family said? Let me tell you what I know." He pulled out a tablet from his security chief's hand and connected it to the ballroom's projection system. Suddenly, the screens around the room lit up with video footage, crystal clear security camera footage. The first video showed Diane, 2 weeks ago, sneaking into my car and planting the diamond bracelet in my purse. She looked around nervously, then smiled at the camera she didn't know was there. The second video showed Gregory meeting with an actor, paying him cash, giving him instructions on where to meet me, and pose for photographs that could be taken out of context. The third video showed Patricia in her study, on her laptop, using Photoshop to create the fake images of me with other men. You could see her laughing as she worked. Bank statements appeared on the screens next. Payments from Patricia to various people, all marked testimony fee and evidence creation. The room erupted in gasps and whispers, 500 witnesses watching the Webb family's conspiracy unravel in real time. Patricia turned white. "This is fake. He's lying. Be quiet." My father's voice cut through her protests like a knife. The authority in those 2 words made even Patricia Webb shut her mouth. Dad walked slowly around the ballroom, making eye contact with Patricia, Gregory, Diane, and Leonard. "Let me tell you who I really am, since you seem to have forgotten. I'm William Sterling. I built a tech empire worth $15 billion, and 3 months ago, when my daughter called me crying, telling me something was wrong but she couldn't explain it, I started investigating." He stopped in front of Patricia. "Patricia Webb, you have $2 million in gambling debts to some very dangerous people. I bought those debts last month. I own you now." Patricia's face went from white to green. He moved to Gregory. "Gregory Webb, your consulting business is actually a front for insurance fraud and embezzlement. I have evidence of every single transaction. The FBI would be very interested in this information." Gregory started sweating, his smug expression completely gone. He looked at Diane. "Diane Webb, you've been stealing from your family's charity foundation for 2 years. $300,000 funneled into your personal accounts. I have all the bank records. The IRS would love to see them." Diane started crying, real tears this time, not her fake performance tears. Finally, he turned to Leonard. "Leonard Webb, tax evasion for 15 years, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell corporations hiding assets. I have everything, every single document." Leonard collapsed into his chair, his face gray. Then my father turned to Harrison, and his voice became even colder. "Harrison Webb, you just beat your innocent, pregnant wife with a belt 300 times in front of 500 witnesses. Every phone in this room recorded it. Every camera captured it. Your life as you know it is over." Police sirens wailed outside. The doors opened again, and officers streamed into the ballroom. "But wait," Dad said, holding up his hand. There's more. Harrison, that real estate company you're so proud of, the one you built yourself, you didn't build it yourself. You took out massive loans, and you've been drowning in debt for a year. I bought all your debt last month. I own your company. As of tonight, you're bankrupt. Harrison's face showed pure shock. This mansion you live in, mortgaged to the ceiling. I bought the mortgage. You're homeless. Your business deals, your contracts, your partnerships, I bought them all out. You have nothing except a criminal record and a viral video that will follow you for the rest of your miserable life. The police moved forward. An officer put handcuffs on Harrison as he stood there in shock. Another officer cuffed Patricia, who was screaming about her rights. Gregory tried to run and was tackled by 2 officers. Diane just collapsed, sobbing. My father knelt beside me, his hand gentle on my head. I've got you, sweetheart. You're safe now. You're safe. As the Webb family was dragged out of the ballroom in handcuffs, 500 people stood in stunned silence. Every single person who had laughed, who had clapped, who had taken selfies during my beating, now had to face what they'd done. Their faces showed horror, shame, and fear, because they knew that by morning they'd be infamous too. Dad lifted me carefully, so careful not to hurt my wounded back, and carried me out of that ballroom. The last thing I saw was the crowd parting for us, everyone's head bowed, unable to meet my father's eyes. 3 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. I named her Faith because that's what got me through the darkness. Faith that somehow, someday, justice would come. Harrison was sentenced to 20 years in prison for assault, attempted murder of an unborn child, and a dozen other charges. The viral video of him beating me at the gala had been viewed by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. He became the face of domestic violence, the monster in designer clothes. His life was destroyed, exactly as he'd tried to destroy mine. Patricia got 15 years for conspiracy, fraud, and a list of other crimes my father's investigation had uncovered. Gregory got 12 years. Diane got 10. Leonard got 8 years for tax evasion and enabling the abuse. The mighty Webb family lost everything. Their money, their status, their freedom, their reputation. They became a cautionary tale. But that wasn't even the most satisfying part. Remember those 500 guests? The ones who laughed and clapped and took selfies during my beating? Within 24 hours, every single one of them was identified online. Their names, their companies, their faces plastered all over social media. Many lost their jobs, some lost their families, all of them lost their reputations. They'd chosen to be entertained by a pregnant woman's torture, and the world made sure they paid for it. I went through months of physical therapy for my back. The scars are still there, probably always will be, but I also went through therapy for my mind and my heart. Slowly, painfully, I healed. My daughter Faith is 4 years old now. She's smart, funny, kind, everything her father wasn't. I never told her about that night, and I never will until she's old enough to understand. Right now, she just knows that Mommy helps other women who are sad and scared. I started the Faith Foundation for domestic violence survivors, specifically for women who are being abused through family manipulation and in-law torture, because that's what happened to me. Harrison didn't wake up one day and decide to be a monster. His family poisoned him, slowly, deliberately, until the man I loved disappeared completely. I help women recognize those patterns now. I help them escape before it's too late. I wrote a book about my experience. It became a bestseller, not because people wanted to read about my pain, but because so many women saw themselves in my story. The messages I receive every day break my heart and heal it at the same time. You helped me leave. You saved my life. Because of you, I recognized the poison before it killed my marriage. 2 years after that horrible night, I met someone new. A pediatrician named Daniel who treated Faith when she had a fever. He was gentle, patient, kind, and when I finally told him my story, he cried. Not out of pity, but out of anger that anyone had hurt me. We dated slowly, carefully, and he never once pressured me. He loved Faith like she was his own daughter from day one. We got married last year in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. No gala, no society, just love and safety and peace. Harrison sends letters from prison sometimes. I never open them. I throw them away without reading a single word. Whatever he has to say, whatever apologies or excuses or justifications, I don't need to hear them. That chapter of my life is closed. Sometimes I still have nightmares. I'm back in that ballroom, the belt is falling, people are laughing, and I'm counting. But then I wake up, and Daniel is there, and Faith is sleeping peacefully in her room, and I remember, I survived. I won. The monsters who hurt me lost everything, and I gained everything that actually matters. That's my story. It's not an easy one to tell, even now, but I share it because silence protects abusers, shame protects abusers, fear protects abusers, and I refuse to protect them anymore. If you're in a situation like I was, please hear me. It's not your fault. You didn't cause this. You can't fix him. You can't love him enough to change him. And if his family is poisoning him against you, you cannot win that battle alone. Document everything. Tell someone you trust. Reach out for help. Make a plan. And when you're ready, when it's safe, leave. You deserve better. You deserve safety. You deserve love that doesn't leave scars. My father once told me after everything was over, revenge isn't about making them suffer. Revenge is about making sure they can never hurt anyone else again. That's what he did for me. He didn't just save me that night. He made sure the Webb family could never destroy another woman's life. And now, that's what I do through my foundation. I save women, I protect them, I give them the resources and support to escape, because every woman deserves a father like mine, but not everyone has one. So I'll be that person for them. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but if it helps even one person recognize the warning signs, if it gives even one woman the courage to leave, then every painful memory was worth it. If my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Your share could literally save a life. Comment below with the word justice if you believe abusers should face real consequences. In the description below, I've included links to domestic violence resources, helplines, and support organizations. If you need help, please reach out. You're not alone. Remember, you are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are not too sensitive. If someone makes you feel unsafe in your own home, that's not love. That's not marriage. That's abuse. And you deserve so much better. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, there is always hope on the other side of pain. I'm living proof. See you in the next video. Stay strong, stay safe, and never stop believing in your worth.